250,000 crypto traders got liquidated for around $1 billion in the past 24 hours. In today's video, we'll be talking about the most recent Bitcoin dump, what happened, how am I adjusting my positions in this market, because if you've been watching me, you know that I went short from around $97,000. The signs were there. The point of trading crypto is not to be right or wrong, it's to make money. Let's talk about it. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. All right, so as you can see here, just under 250,000 traders were liquidated. The total liquidations came in at around $874 million. Now, what happened to Bitcoin? We essentially dropped from hovering around $95,000 to $91,800, depending on which exchange you're looking at. Now, I have to be very honest here. The trend is still, technically speaking, up, but it made sense to short at resistance, as I've been continuously talking about on the channel. Some people are just allergic to shorting this market. I'm not a perma bear, I'm not a perma bull, I just trade the market that's right in front of me. You can see right now that I secured around $45,000 on my most recent Bitcoin short position, and I'm still holding on to some of my trade, which is currently sitting at around $80,000 in unrealized profits. Remember, all of the trades, whether I go short or whether I go long, as you can see from the lows, are shared in my free premium group. If you want to know exactly how I am personally trading the market on a day-by-day basis, you do have the first link in my description down below. All you have to do is click this link over here and DM me the keyword premium, and I'd be happy to onboard you into my free premium group where I share all of my own personal updates. There's some days where I don't trade the market at all, but the point is my high conviction trades are all shared in this group. It's the first link in my description down below. Also, we do have a massive bonus with BTCC, which is the second link, 30% unlimited deposit bonus. This is one of the most insane promotions that I've ever seen in all my time in crypto since 2017. It basically means that if you deposit $100,000, you'll get $30,000 back completely for free for trading purposes. Even if you are to deposit $1 million, the same thing applies. You get $300,000 for trading purposes. Now, I would highly recommend that you read all of the terms and conditions because, of course, there are some, but that is the second link in my description down below if that interests you. Now, let's get back to the charts. So, as you know, I shorted Bitcoin around $97,000. We were forming this very, very bearish structure. I've been vocal about it for the past week. Some of the comments were extremely negative, but you have to remember, I also went long when everyone was extremely bearish in this market, right around $80,000. You can see that this is my most recent long trade, which I will continue to maintain even if it goes ahead and gets stopped out because I've already secured some nice profits here. So right now, if you're asking me, what is my next big move in this market? Well, I'm essentially just relaxing because I have my long from the lows and I also have my short from the local top. All of my positions are protected. I cannot lose any capital here, and all of the premium members are in the exact same boat. Now, Bitcoin did get rejected. It's very, very clear. We had a big drop. As I said in my previous video, markets don't like uncertainty. And what happened on the weekend with all of these tariffs going around, talking about Greenland, Trump essentially fighting with the EU, and therefore it was always likely that we were going to get a significant move to the downside, especially on a low volume weekend. Now, markets are technically closed today as well for Martin Luther King Day, so we'll have to see how the stock market actually reacts to what is happening right in front of our eyes. Something else you need to understand here. President Trump came out and told Norway's prime minister he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace after not being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He says he will prioritize American interests. Now, the full message is essentially this: considering your country decided to not give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect the land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have a complete and total control of Greenland. Pretty strong words from the President of the United States. Now, something you also need to understand, as Bitcoin dumped, gold pumped. You can see how they are inversely correlated here. As I've mentioned several times on the channel, gold is risk off. And as gold continues to soar, risk assets will likely struggle, especially Bitcoin. Now, some point in our lifetime, Bitcoin will be seen as a risk-off asset. I do firmly believe that. But right now, at this point in time, this whole narrative of digital gold is still not really underway as we would expect it to be at this point in time. So let's take a look at Bitcoin and assess how we should be trading this market. Right now, if you're bullish, you want to see us quickly reclaim the 2025 yearly open, because if this starts acting as resistance, then it may be even more likely that we go ahead, chop around here, and then reject even lower. And if we reject from here, this is when we can start talking about tagging all of this downside liquidity, which I've highlighted countless times on my YouTube channel. There's also something you need to consider. We are back in the range. And remember what I said about getting back into the range. Acceptance back in the range does mean that this was, technically speaking, a deviation at the top of this range. And therefore, there is always a chance that we can come back down to the bottom of the range. Now, I'm not willing to say that that will happen quite yet, but what I am willing to say is that I am positioned either way. My short entry is right above $97,000, and I will continue to maintain this position, because if Bitcoin does have a massive drop, then I stand to benefit from this so much. This is why I've always said, you don't need to catch the perfect top, but you can get relatively close. And seriously, the signs were there. You can see that since November of 2024, we essentially tapped perfectly into the point of control of this entire range, only to get rejected. This is where we have the most volume, and therefore a wick above this range into the bull market support band was a good area to go swing short in this market. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, because technically speaking, if Bitcoin is to hold from where it's currently at and we start trending upwards here, this could just be another higher low, another shakeout before we potentially move higher. But my base case has always been the same. If we get a higher revisit into this bull market support band, I will still be looking to go aggressively short into Bitcoin. I get it. It's not fair. You were promised a very bullish year. Look, the point of this market is to simply make money. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just want to make money in this market. And as I said, from a risk to reward perspective, it made sense to go short here. Will this be the top? Only time will tell. However, I am still looking for swing shorts if we manage to break up higher from here after already securing some profits on my most recent short. But I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have a crystal ball, and no one really knows if Bitcoin can really pump from here or if we're just going to go ahead and reject. That's why it's important to stay positioned in this market either way. So if Bitcoin is to pump, again, I still stand to benefit from this. My goal with this YouTube channel is to give you the ins and outs as to how I operate in this market. I hope you can appreciate that I'm not a perma bear, nor am I a perma bull. I just want to make money in this crypto market. So what else should you consider here? We do have the CME gap right around $88,000, but the only time that I would really say that this comes into the equation is if we start losing the current support level. If Bitcoin does end up dropping from here, then naturally below $90,000 opens up a very easy move to at least fill the CME gap down to 88K, something for you to consider. And taking a look at USD dominance, you can see that on the weekly time frame, we did manage to get squeezed up a little bit. So the higher this goes, the worse it is for Bitcoin. A quick update on Bitcoin dominance as well. You can see this was actually my base case from my previous video, and it's a reclaim of the bull market support band. And you can see right now that we are in progress. If we can break above this band and hold it as support, it is highly likely that Bitcoin dominance will continue to increase irrespective of where Bitcoin is headed. Let's take a look at the liquidation heat map. You know I love these charts so much. A lot of people have gone short now right above $98,000 up to around 100K. Can we go ahead and grab this liquidity? Of course, it's always a possibility. The market has a way of shaking all of us out, whether you're going long or short. That's why it's super critical to take some profits on your trades. It doesn't matter what trades I'm in, short or long, you can see that my realized profit is always secured, and I let the rest of the position ride so I can go ahead and benefit from wherever the market takes us. The thing that you need to consider here as well is it doesn't mean that we have to go ahead and grab this liquidity. There is still a larger cluster below us, which I've constantly referred to on my channel, as well as this Bitcoin exchange liquidation map on the 30-day time frame. There was a lot more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market. And right now there's still more longs in the market, but the gap did get drastically reduced. You can see now that there's around 6 billion worth of cumulative short liquidation leverage. And on the left here, there's around 12.5 billion worth of cumulative long liquidation leverage. Look, the time to go short is not when you start getting this bounce. Can we go lower? Of course we can. But the time to go short is when everyone on your timeline was extremely bullish. That's why I was very, very vocal going against the grain about me trying to catch a potential top in this market, as everyone on the timeline already got euphoric with a nice move all the way up to around $98,000. Now, I actually hope that Bitcoin can pump from here, but only time will tell, because if we do, I will simply look for new opportunities in this market. If you're paying attention to the crypto market on a day-by-day basis, there are literally unlimited opportunities to actually make money trading it. Now, don't take my word for it. You can see exactly how I trade the market in my community. That's the first link in my description down below if you want to see exactly how I am personally doing it. These are all of my own personal trades. Win or lose, everything is shared in that group. So what you want to understand here is we do also have the Coinbase Premium Index staying in deep red. If this continues in deep red, Bitcoin will likely move lower. The main thing that I'm concerned about here is this whole tariffs and Greenland acquisition fiasco. We have to see how this unfolds, and most importantly, we need to see what happens to the stock market when it opens tomorrow. Naturally, Bitcoin is traded 24/7, and therefore we get the reaction here first. Perhaps this is just a front-ran reaction, and Bitcoin can actually go ahead, confirm this as support, and then move higher. A potential scalp long in this market, as we normally do it, could be upon another sweep of this low and then a reclaim of $91,800. If we get this signal, it could actually mean that we get another move to the upside, and I may be looking to trade this opportunity. Of course, I'll share that with the premium members first, and then I'll come on the YouTube channel and discuss it. And while all of this is happening, supposedly the Fed will inject $8.3 billion tomorrow at 9 a.m. This is the first part of the $55 billion QE program. Giga bullish for the markets. You see these types of posts everywhere, but you also see these types of posts, which are arguably more concerning for Bitcoin. The open interest got flushed, the longs got wrecked, of course, and instantly went back up to pre-market dump levels. Degens have no chill. Now, what this essentially means is there are a lot of people that have piled into longs after Bitcoin got this initial reaction. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's wrong, because there could be some shorts that have piled in as well, and the liquidity maps do suggest that we do have a lot of cumulative short liquidation leverage to be grabbed. But it's important to be careful here. Between these two ranges, between these two trades, my entry for the Bitcoin long at around $82,700 and my entry for my Bitcoin short at around $97,000, I don't actually feel like trading much. I'm happy with my exposure. If we get a move to the downside, well, I'm perfectly content with my position. But of course, if I enter a new big trade, I will let you know on the channel, and first and foremost, in my Telegram group, where it's much, much easier to update on a regular basis outside of my YouTube videos. And that sums up today's quick video. Judging by my comment section, it's clear that a lot of people are extremely emotional in this market. If I am proven wrong and I'm on the wrong side of a trade, I simply move on to the next trade. But the only way you could really do this is with proper risk management. The difference between a great trader and a decent one is literally risk management. That is the number one thing. And what I mean by this is when I enter a short that's underwater or a long that's underwater, I'm okay with keeping it like that because I already have a predetermined amount of risk. If you're comfortable with the amount of risk that you're taking per trade, you're already one step ahead of most people. I see it time and time again. People will go ahead and be absolutely convinced that Bitcoin has to pump, and so they go all into a long, risking 50%, 75%, 100% of their trading portfolio for one single trade. And the worst part if that trade works out, you've started to instill some bad habits and eventually you will lose all of your capital. But anyways, too much about risk management here. I hope you enjoyed the content. Ultimately, I'm sitting in my Bitcoin short, I'm sitting in my Bitcoin long, and I'm going to let the market develop as it needs to do before I can take my next big trade. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.